Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and good day everyone. Okay, so this is the continuation of chapter 4 and we're going to learn about the microbes in the soil. Okay, so as we know that in soil as well we have a lot of microorganisms, and we know the microorganisms that present in the soil, they have mutualistic and also a parasitic interaction with the soil and anything in the soil. So we're going to have a look at the advantages and the disadvantages of the microorganisms in the soil. Okay, so the condition of the soils that the factors that are contributing to the microbial growth in the soil are the atmosphere. Okay, so the gases present in the atmosphere that is helpful for the microbial growth. The pH, the soil pH must be in between the neutral pH because that's the optimum pH condition for the microbial growth. The availability of the soil water as well, because microbe needs water, and the soil water usually it comes from the rainfall. Temperature, so the temperature of the soil must be between 30 to 40 degrees, and because that is the optimum temperature condition for the microbial growth in the soil. So we can see here a comparison for plants, okay, when they are grown in the soil of neutral pH and when they are grown in the soil in the acidic pH. So in the neutral pH, then we have a green leaf, okay, but in the acidic pH, then we will have a stress plant. So these are the roles of the microbes in soil, and it has a lot, okay, but the one that I'm gonna focus more on is the roles of the microbes in breaking down the organic matter. So when they break down the organic matter, or they decompose the organic matter, then it will be useful, the nutrients will be useful to the soil, and then the plants in the soil, through the root, they can absorb the nutrients. Okay, so it's the same with the recycling the nutrient. Fix the nutrient, and they can also control the pests and disease. Okay, so in the next few slides are the figures or posters on the roles of the microbe in the soil. Okay, so the microbes in the soil, they can recycle the nutrients, and the one that we learn about the nitrogen cycle. So the microbes in the soil, they are very helpful, very beneficial in cycling the nitrogen from the atmosphere back to the soil, and from the soil back to the atmosphere. Okay, so this is another one of the roles of microorganism. Microbes create humus. Okay, so humus ni dia adalah lapisan on the on the top layer of the soil, and this sebenarnya it helps in the soil punya nutrient. Okay, so when it traps the nutrient in the humus, then the plants can get a lot of nutrients from the humus. So there are 4 functional groups of the soil bacteria as the decomposers. Okay, so we already know this, and then they have a mutualist relationship with the soil. They also act as the pathogens, okay, to create disease. Also, lithotrophs or the chemoautotrophs. Okay, so for decomposers, we know that it means that it decomposes the organic matter, okay, or decompose the carbon matter. So it will break down all the simple carbon compounds. Then it will be useful to the plants to absorb, and it will be beneficial for the plant growth. Mutualists in the nitrogen fixing because it has a mutual interaction between the microbes and also the plants in the soil. Pathogens because it is involved in the disease. Okay, so the microbes in the soil, this is the bad microbes lah because it causes disease to the soil or even to the plants. And lithotrophs, okay, it obtains its energy from other than carbon compound. Okay, so if it is carbon compound, then they act as the decomposers. But when they obtain the energy source besides the carbon compound, then they are the lithotrophs. And there are the lithotrophs and the decomposers in the soil. The importance of soil bacteria. Okay, kenapa pentingnya soil bacteria ni Okay, so as we know that the bacteria ni is the soil bacteria in the soil tu, they are helping in the nitrogen fixation, carbon fixation. So it helps in mobilizing, and it helps in the nutrition of the soils for the plant. Okay, so for example, the nitrogen fixing bacteria. So we have covered this in the previous part where we learned about the nitrogen cycle. So the nitrogen fixing bacteria, it is usually located or situated in the nodules or of the legumes of plants, in the roots kan. Jadi it will help in the fixing the atmospheric nitrogen and then breaking down them so that all the nitrogen ions, it can be absorbed, it can be used by the plants. Oops, sorry. Okay, so nitrifying bacteria. And we know that sebenarnya the next few slides ni dia is about the process during the during the nitrogen cycle. Okay, so again, this is the denitrifying bacteria in the denitrification process where this bacteria they convert dia punya nitrogen ion tu back to the atmospheric nitrogen and it will be released to the environment. Okay, so this is the nitrogen cycle, and just now we talk about the nitrifying bacteria here in the nitrification process, and then nitrifying bacteria also here, and also the denitrifying bacteria. Okay, so this is the nitrogen fixing bacteria here. Okay, alright, so there is another group of bacteria where we call it as actinomycetes. Okay, so actinomycetes, when anybody mention about actinomycetes, then automatically we know that it is a soil microorganism. Okay, it is a soil bacteria. So actinomycetes only in the soil. Okay, so enough about the soil bacteria. Now let's have a look at the soil fungi. Okay, because fungi is also a type of microorganism, and they are also present in the soil, and they have some sort of responsibilities in the soil as well, although their roles or their functions are sometimes redundant to the roles of the soil bacteria. Okay, so usually the soil fungi, they are responsible for the decomposition. Okay, but bear in mind, soil bacteria also, they are responsible for the decomposition as well. Okay, so this is the fungal biotic interaction. So fungal, they have, when they are present in the soil, they have several association. Okay, first they will have association with the plants, and then they will have association with the other microbes as well. Okay, so for example, other microbes tu dengan algae, dengan cyanobacteria. Okay, kalau dengan plants tu memang dengan plants lah. Okay, so fungi in soil sama juga macam bacteria. They have a mutualistic interaction and also a parasitic interaction. So kalau mutualism ni everything yang good lah. Kan? So dia bekerja bersama-sama, okay? But for parasitic interaction or the parasitism, kan? So this is the bad fungi. Then dia akan bagi a lot of disease lah. And when the disease tu, especially kalau disease kepada plants, and then it is a fungal punya disease, and then dia akan usually economic losses banyak dekat situ lah. Okay? So kalau yang the mutualistic interaction between the plant roots and also the fungi, we call it as Mycorrhizas. Okay, so whenever you see this term Mycorrhizas, it means that it is the fungi and also the plants, and they are mutual. Okay, dia orang baik, dia orang kawan, dia orang tak gaduh-gaduh. So this is an example of a mutualistic association involving the soil fungi. So these are the basic characteristics of the 4 mycorrhizal types. And remember, when we hear or when we see, when we talk about mycorrhizal, then we know that it is a soil, fungi, plants, mutualism. Okay, so we know dia berkawan dengan siapa? It's between soil fungi and also the plants. Fungal contributions to soil system function. So basically, these are the importance, these are the advantages of having the fungi in the soil system function. Okay, so nutrient cycling ini memang kita dah banyak kali tekankan. Besides fungal, bacteria pun tadi pun memang it involves in the nutrient cycling as well. Soil architecture. Okay. So basically soil architecture memang fungal contribution. The bacteria usually it doesn't help in the soil punya architecture. Okay. So usually it enriches the nutrients. But for fungi, what they do is because they have the hyphal network. So hyphal network ni dia menyebabkan soil particle tu they are together. Diorang tidak berpecah belerai. Okay. So it helps in the structure of the soil. Okay, so enough with the soil fungi. Now let's have a look at the soil protozoa. Okay, so protozoa, so usually dia it depends on the way the protozoa are moving or the feeding. So kita akan based on that lah. Okay, so usually flagellates, ciliates or amoeba. Okay, so untuk protozoa ni, they don't have a proper cell wall. So to counter that, to maintain dia punya structure dia tu, they have a thickened cell membrane. So when they have a thickened cell membrane, so the water activity kat situ tu kena betul. So that's why they are totally dependent on the soil water films for their activity. Okay. Example of the protozoa. Okay, so yang A ni is the flagellate. Okay, flagellate. And then B and C is the amoeba. Yeah. And D ni kita tahu sebab from the structure, then this is the ciliate. Okay, so remember protozoa ni most of the time names itu it depends on the way they move and also the way they feed. Ecological roles for protozoa in soil. Okay, so kalau protozoa in soil ni dia sebenarnya dia quite sama jugalah dengan yang bacteria and also the soil punya responsibilities. Okay, so it shapes the structure of the microbial communities, and then it influences the plant growth because it helps with the nutrient as well. And it helps, basically it helps in the mineralization and also immobilization. Okay, so nutrients yang ada dekat dalam soil organism ni, lepas tu it is being mineralized, and then bila dia dah berpecah menjadi nutrients dalam bentuk ion, then the plants can take up, and then from bila dia die, dia pun dimakan oleh apa-apa binatang. balik dekat dalam soil tersebut, then the nutrients are immobilized balik back to the animals tersebut. Algae. There are also some algae present in the soil, and usually we can find them where the moisture and also sunlight available. So we know that moisture and sunlight are very important in the algae growth, and algae, they can make their own food. They can do their photosynthesis, and these are the rules and function of algae. Application of microbes in soil. So knowing that the importance, the advantages, the use of just now we cover bacteria, we cover fungi, we cover protozoa, and also we cover the algae in the soil. Then from there we can make a product so that it is being useful, okay, to the industry. So usually it is being useful to the industry of the agriculture, okay. So they make the microbial pesticide, biofertilizers, and also ni industri untuk pollution, okay, to encounter the pollution through the bioremediation process, which we have learned in the previous part. The pros and the cons of the microbes in the soil. Okay, so as a decomposer, the microbe used as food, the excess nutrient will be released. So that can be as the advantage, the benefits of the microbes in the soil. Nitrogen fixation as well. Yeah, it helps in fixing the nitrogen so that from the atmosphere go into the plant, and then from plant release it back to the atmosphere. And then denitrification as well, and the nutrient competition. So it is a competition between the soil microbes and the crop plant. So this is the only disadvantage of having the microbes in the soil, because they will compete for the nutrient. These are the students that helped me with the content for this chapter. That's all. Thank you.